Greetings. The inflation mongers and the media will never ever stop pretending that hyperinflation is around the corner, irrespective of how many times they have been wrong for the last 11, 20, 30 years. But more specifically over the last 11 years, because $31 trillion of money has been printed, and they think printing money causes inflation just because it used to do that in the 1970s. But they never actually look at the data, or they cherry pick the data to support their narrative. And if you found your way to this channel, then you are interested in actually looking at the data and tuning out the false narrative of hyperinflation that is rife in the media and is perpetuated by a lot of PhD economists who frankly don't really understand how much economics has changed since the 1970s textbooks that they have memorized, as well as people who want to pump up the price of gold and, even more strangely, cryptocurrencies under a belief that cryptocurrencies are somehow a hedge for inflation. I don't see why cryptocurrency could possibly be a hedge for inflation, but even gold is not a hedge for inflation. So to look at the actual inflation data, we go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, bls.gov, and this is US only data, but later on we will also look at the more comprehensive worldwide metric, which is the only true metric that matters. And you go to Consumer Price Index, and you click here. Now over here, you go to Formatting Options, and we will choose the original data set and the 12-month percentage change data set. So now you see over 10 years, this is the CPI, and of course it's rising. There's supposed to be a baseline level of inflation. 2% a year is considered optimal. I think 3% a year would be a little bit better because inflation is the fuel for more technological progress. Technology consumes inflation and offsets it with new deflation produced by that technology, which in turn generates more technology that produces more deflation. So inflation is the fuel for that in the modern age. But over here you see that this uptick that everyone is screaming about is very recent, and it only just offsets the period of flat and even declining inflation. This is a dangerous amount of deflation that occurred in early 2020 due to the coronavirus crisis. So you have to look at a 10-year window and keep everything in context. Some periods are above trend, some periods are below trend, but only the average moving trend line matters. So what has the actual CPI inflation rate been over the last 10 years? To do that, we take a scientific calculator and see what the difference has been. So we take this number, 272, divided by this number, 226, so for an exact 10-year window, which shows that in 10 years there has been a little over 20% inflation. So what is that per year? You do this type of exponent to the 1/10th power, 10th root, one could say, 1.0186, and then minus 1 and times 100, 1.87% a year. The CPI inflation rate over the last 10 years for the United States has only been 1.87% a year. And this is the full CPI. It includes food and energy prices, which many people claim are not included. This is the metric that includes all of them. So 1.87% a year. Are things ticking higher a little bit now? Yes. Is it ticking higher by an amount that does anything to move the 10-year average? No. Because if you look at the year-over-year growth rate, the average of this line over 10 years, starting from August of 2011, so start from here, is about 1.87%. There were periods when we were dangerously close to deflation, like 2015, and only now, because of the huge amount of money printing that's been done, about $11 trillion in the last 16 months, you finally have this temporary blip in CPI, but that only offsets this period of low inflation before. So this is very, very, very far from having even 1 year worth of 4% inflation, which itself is a less than terrifying thing. But no, we're not close to hyperinflation or even aberrantly high inflation by any means at all. And now we go to the more comprehensive metric, which is what a sophisticated person should look at when looking at inflation. And if you're familiar with this channel, this is some repetition, but if you're new here or if you just want an update on the commodity index, you've come to the right place. This is the Goldman Sachs Commodity Index, GSCI. It is a worldwide metric, and it accounts for everything from gold to silver to oil to natural gas to all sorts of agricultural commodities. This is all commodities as an index, and being worldwide, it is immune to being rigged or understating inflation because it does not account for this or that or this other such factor. And you have minus 2% a year over the last 10 years. That is deflation in commodity prices. Minus 2% a year. So why do people say there's hyperinflation? Well, if you go to the 1-year chart, it looks like it's risen 49% a year. That's hyperinflation. That's scary. We are in hyperinflation if it has risen 49% in a single year. But what about 10 years? Minus 2% a year. This steep rise of 49% is a very cherry-picked metric with a selectively chosen start point and end point designed to scare people. So ignore that. You need a longer term window, a 10-year window, to give you the accurate picture. Now, not everything a person consumes is commodities, but commodities are the purest metric of inflation because they don't include the wages of people in them for the most part. Wages are an extremely small component of any commodity price and therefore are the purest example of inputs into any products and even services. And I say the commodity index should include technological metrics such as a unit of computing, a unit of storage, and so forth, in which case the deflation rate would even be greater. But the official Goldman Sachs commodity index still suffices to show us we are far from an inflationary environment unless you want to just choose this start point and this gradient. The world did not begin in March of 2020. And furthermore, if you look at even the more recent flattening, quarter to date, so just July 1st to present, 6 weeks, it's already going down. It's down minus 2% since July 1st. So it's already saturating. This doesn't look like something that's going into hyperinflation. And that is how you check whether we are actually in hyperinflation or not. You have to take a broad worldwide commodity index rather than just listen to a soundbite of, oh, I heard somewhere that lumber prices are rising, or some egghead economist says that their wife's boyfriend's parole officer heard that there's hyperinflation somewhere, or something like that. Those are not the true metrics of inflation. These are. If you found this type of video informative, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, and thank you very much for watching.